Alright, Shalom. All praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah HaKodash, and double honors to the apostle elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to Joachim out there laboring and pushing his truth and sincerity. And as you can see up on the screen, I have an article on Blacklisted News entitled, Israel Quietly Begins Practicing for Possible War with Russia. And as we know, as far as us being in the time of the prophecies coming to pass before our deliverance, the nation of Israel's deliverance, out of our captivity, we waiting on pretty much World War III to pretty much come to pass, as well as the Mark of the Beast, which is the RFID chip, and pretty much everything, pretty much been planned out, according to prophecy as far as with current events, and this just goes to show that we are drawing ever closer, to the time of Jacob's trouble, which pretty much is going to bring the end of Esau, the so-called white man's rulership, and us, as a nation of Israel, being delivered for when Yahweh Shai returns. Alright, so it says, the Israeli army quietly conducted a military exercise last week that simulated a multi-front war where Russia intervened to prevent Israel from attacking Syria, Haaretz reports. According to Haaretz, the drill involved the top-ranking officers of the Israeli Defense Force, as well as the headquarters staff of all the commands that would be required to successfully pursue a fight with Hezbollah, an Iranian-aligned militia based in Lebanon. Haaretz noted that Israel prepared for the scenario in which a war with Hezbollah in Lebanon will require the Israeli military to fight on other fronts, most likely Syria, where Hezbollah retains a significant military presence. Throughout the exercise, we examined various implications of the Russian presence in Syria. A senior Israeli Defense Force officer said, as quoted by Haaretz, "We practiced everything that could be coordinated with the Russians and also what couldn't be. How we would operate without harming their interests in the region, and on the flip side, scenarios in which the Russians made trouble." Which pretty much, when they go over into Hezbollah, the Russians are gonna make trouble automatically, because that goes according to prophecy, that Russia, which is situated in the land of Gog and Magog, is going to be a guard onto the Syrian nations, as well as the other Arabic nations. All right, which I'll bring that out in just a moment. It says, the drill was strictly a command-level exercise, meaning it did not involve any troops on the ground. Its sole purpose was to study various threat scenarios. Some of the scenarios explored in the exercise included fighting that killed hundreds of Israelis, as well as terrorist incursions against Israeli towns and cyber attacks. So, they pretty much gonna have their drones, their Air Force military, to pretty much destabilize Hezbollah, once they actually to carry out the attack, and once that happens, Russia is pretty much going to end up stepping in. It says, it is also worth noting that the Israeli Defense Force concluded 2 other major military exercises last week, one of which was a joint exercise with thousands of American personnel known as Juniper Cobra. According to Haaretz, Major General Yair Golan planned the less publicized command-level exercise, which began with high-intensity fighting against Hezbollah in Lebanon and later spread to both Syria and the Gaza Strip. These are large-scale exercises that are part of our preparedness for war. Golan said, the exercise developed to the point where Israel had more than 100 fatalities, both soldiers and civilians. And this is, just a drill that they, practice, because they're in practice, for this before they actually commit to doing the attack. It says Golan is the same official who was tasked with writing Israel's defense policy last year, while at the same time publicly admitting that Israel could not realistically take on Iran by itself. Because Israel's military force, is going to be, the ones who pretty much get this started. So with that, let me go ahead and bring this out. This is Jeremiah 49. I'm gonna start at verse I'm gonna start at verse 7. It says, Jeremiah 49 verse 7, concerning Edom, which is you so-called white people, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman, is counsel perished from the prudent, and is their wisdom vanished. Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. Right, because coming in the time of this World War III taking place, this is where the Most High is going to bring Esau down as a ruling empire. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. Because Esau has the whole world under his control, but yet he ceases to never, have enough. He got all the resources, the Rothschilds, got all the gold reserves, for when they're ready to crash this economy and make it a cashless society. And yet they still want to put these Arabs, in further subjection, but they don't want to compromise, the interests with the Russians, So it's going to bring further conflict to these American and these Israeli Edomites, It says, but I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children, and I will preserve them alive, and let the widows trust in me. Alright. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken, and art thou he, thou shalt altogether go unpunished. For thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. Because pretty much that cup, is representing slavery, because our judgment, we went under captivity under Esau as well as the rest of these other nations, but us being the apple of the Most High's eye, we weren't supposed to drink of that cup. But all of this playing out is leading to Esau coming out of power, and soon they're gonna be going into captivity under us. For I have sworn by myself, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. Because Basra was representing a chief city of Edom back in the ancient world, but we can call America pretty much the modern day Basra, because America is pretty much going to be destroyed off the face of the earth by thermonuclear missiles. It says, I have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. All right, that's why that's why all of these other nations is pretty much, doing away with the dollar as the international, reserve currency. They want to revert back to gold and silver, and implement their own currency, as well as pretty much prepare themselves to war against the United States, because they also getting nuclear missile capabilities as well. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. Alright? And that's what's happening now as far as, with Trump being in office, and other nations despise America and, ready to take this place out. Thy terribleness have deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord. And so pretty much that directly points to Esau, because that's why they got the name Caucasians, because they're the original cave dwellers. Also, Edom shall be a desolation, everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at the plagues thereof. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, shall the Lord Yahweh, saith the Lord Yahweh, no man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. Because how was the ancient city of Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? Was by way of fire and brimstone raining from heaven. And that new fire and brimstone is going to be them ICBM missiles raining upon America. It says, behold, he shall come up like a lion from a swelling Jordan against the habitation of the strong, but I will suddenly make him run away from her, and who is a chosen man, that I may appoint over her. For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time, and who is a shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And the least of the flock is talking about, the Israeli military force. So, this war that they want to pursue with the Syrian and Iranian government is going to draw out pretty much America getting involved, because America is going to come to the aid of Israel, as well as Russia stepping in to guard Syria and Iran. Okay. It says Golan is the same official, going back to the article, it says Golan is the same official who was tasked with writing Israel's defense policy last year, while at the same time publicly admitting that Israel could not realistically take on Iran by itself. It is consequently no surprise that under Golan's leadership, Israel is practicing simulating wars with Iranian proxies in Lebanon and Syria, where it believes it can maintain the upper hand. Alright, so, of course they had to admit that they can't realistically go against Lebanon and Syria, by themselves. We can achieve decisive victory over Hezbollah, and we don't need help from a single American soldier, but we cannot fight Iran alone. He stated last year, I consider future cooperation with the U.S. much more important than anything we've had in the past. Throughout the course of last year, anti-media warned not only that Israel is preparing for a major war, a development almost completely ignored by the corporate media, but also that such a war between Israel and Hezbollah had the potential to draw in Russia as well. In May last year we wrote, okay, well, I'm going to stop here for now. But yeah, I mean, that just goes back to prophecy being fulfilled, pursuant to Ezekiel the 38th chapter, you know. So let's go ahead and read that. All right. This is Ezekiel 38:1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And I will turn thee back, and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, and a great company of bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, and all of them with shield and helmet. Gomar and all his bands, and the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Alright, so, that's the main thing that Israel wants to avoid is, Russia stepping in, But they're ready to take measures, in case, Russia gets in on a war front, which is going to happen, It says, let's see. The other crucial omission for Western media reports on this looming conflict is the fact that in response to Donald Trump's April strike on the Syrian government, Russia and Iran issued a joint statement together with Hezbollah that in the next time such an attack occurs, Syria's allies will respond with force. This alliance places Russia directly on the side of Hezbollah. Alright, so there you have it. I mean, everything that us, as far as laboring in this truth, through the spirit of power, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, first through the apostle elders, a great millstone, as far as what the scriptures says, coming to pass, says last year Russia threatened to veto any United Nations Security Council resolution that described Hezbollah as a terrorist organization. Russia also indirectly warned Israel not to attack Iran and Syria, condemning parties that violate international law and undermines Syria's sovereignty. Almost certainly a reference to Israel and the United States. Clearly, Russia will be somewhat of a wild card if Israel decides to intervene more forcibly in the Syrian conflict as it stands. The Russian government has sent a stern warning to the United States that it will not tolerate any attacks on Damascus that pose any threat to Russian personnel, and that it will respond with strikes of its own. According to Haaretz, during the exercise, Israel played out a scenario where Iran was directly involved too. There is a message here to all the players in the region and also to the guests in the region that our relationship with the United States is not just strategic but operative in real time. Golan reported Lee Warren. Alright, so yeah, this is it, man. It's about to go down, So I'm gonna get a couple more scriptures. This is actually, I think it's a little bit more meat here. All right. It says Ezekiel 38:8. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out many people. Talking about the land of Israel, because pretty much with these Edomites being there occupying that land, they pretty much have had their their military station there to go against the Syrians there to destabilize their governments. And it says, and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have always been waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely of all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. Because pretty much they don't have their militant drones to, pretty much end up bombing the hell out of Israel, because Israel is pretty much, that place needs to be destroyed because of those fake Jews that fall in our land, It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages, I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having bars nor gates. Alright? To take a spoil and to take a prey, and to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land. Alright? So that's coming to pass that, these the Russians is gonna come up against these fake Israeli Jews that's occupying the land of Israel right now. Alright, it says Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish with all the young lions thereof shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil, and as thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, and to take a great spoil. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto God, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, in that day when my people of Israel dwelleth safely, shalt thou not know it. And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, and all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. Now, pretty much I'm gonna have to pretty much go into some articles, because pretty much have these military personnel even from Russia and China coming over to the Americas, and pretty much that's gonna be the time of martial law, and pretty much a lot of 2/3 of our people are gonna be getting slaughtered and put to death at that time, by these foreign troops. Okay. It says, and thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, which is talking about right now. And I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, art thou he of whom I have spoken in old time by my servants the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days many years that I will bring thee against them. Alright? And it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord Yahweh, that my fury shall come up in my face, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. Alright? Because not only, is this war, Third World War, getting ready to go down, and all of these armies is getting ready to be gathered, that's when the Most High is going to send Yahushua and the angels to pretty much destroy, Esau's armies, these Middle Eastern Syrian armies, and pretty much, put down Esau's rulership, during the time of this Third World War. Alright? It says, so that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord Yahweh. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands, and upon the many people that are with him, an overflowing rain, and great hailstones, and fire and brimstone. Alright, so as a matter of fact, let me get the Apocrypha real quick, because that's gonna be at the time, when Yahweh Shai, as I just before mentioned, is gonna bring that destruction, to Esau's army. So yeah. All right. This is this is Second Ezra 13. So I'm gonna start at the top. It says, "And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, and when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him." That man from heaven is talking about Yahweh Shai with the angels, and the chariots, which is those UFOs. Alright. "And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven, to subdue the man that came up out of the sea." And really that sea, is really talking about the firmament, which is the sky. The scriptures speak about, the waters that was separated from the waters. And, the firmament represents the elements, of the Earth's atmosphere from space, So it ain't talking about the actual sea, "But I behold, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, and flew up on it." And that mountain is actually talking about that mothership that Yahweh Shai is going to be in, That's going to take up and fill the entire sky. It says, "But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight." Alright, so, these armies, when they see these chariots, they're going to be terrified at the sight of the angels along with Yahweh Shai, but the Most High is going to put the spirit on them to fight against them anyway, Alright, and it says, "And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war." Alright. "And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held up sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. And when I saw this, I was afraid." Okay, so the prophet Ezra, saw this all taking place. That's getting ready to happen in this latter time. So to the Akim that's of the faith, us in the know, we already know that this is getting ready to come to pass. So we just standing upon our watch, as the scriptures say, and this is just to give a warning to 2/3 of our well, 2/3, they ain't gonna get it, but to those that you know, would believe and come back to the faith, so that they may be delivered, from these times to come, So, and we doing this, to seal members of the elect because, pretty much, we want to get the hell up out of here, And once the elect is sealed, that destruction is going to be loose from the four winds, and then that's when those thermonuclear missiles, and that's when Yahweh Shai and the angels is going to come back to redeem the elect from the four corners of the earth. All right. So this is I'm gonna get a couple more scriptures, and I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing out. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, starting at 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. So just like Habakkuk, us that's laboring in the faith, we standing upon our watch as well, keeping watch for the prophecies, by taking a look as far as what's going on, in the news, and just applying it to the scriptures, It says, and the Lord Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. All right. I mean, it don't mean, physically, run or run out of America, but we're running, this race onto the end, that Yahweh Shai can deliver us, and, the scriptures, being made manifest, that's that vision that was made plain upon tables, So that's why the scriptures say, blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of his prophecies, so we can know the end of the times that's coming. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and shall not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. All right, and you can plainly see, through current events now that it's right here. There's, 2/3, and other scoffers or the other heathens, that may come across videos, they may scoff, but pretty much, it ain't for them, and it's pretty much going to be to their destruction anyway. But this is just to boost our faith, knowing that we in the present time of coming to the point of our deliverance. So with that, let me get this last precept. All right. This is Romans 13 and 11. It says, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. All right, so the time is pretty much the time to be serious-minded, to be focused, and circumspect, to what's going on, because pretty much this place is about on its way out of here. It says, the night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. What is the armor of light? This truth, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and walking by faith in Yahweh Shai, so that we can be delivered and get up out of here. All right, so with that, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and I hope this was edifying, and with that, I'll say Shalom.